You remember the taste, not just the food, the specific taste of a McDonald's burger when you were a kid. The way a Whopper smelled when you unwrapped it in the backseat of your parents' car. The first bite of a Wendy's Frosty on a summer afternoon. You remember it so clearly, and you can almost taste it right now, but the last time you actually went, something was different. The burger looked smaller, the fries tasted like nothing. The whole thing felt like a performance of food rather than actual food. And you told yourself, maybe I'm just older, maybe I'm remembering it wrong. You are not remembering it wrong. Between 1970 and 2026, the average fast food meal price increased by over 2,000%. The quality did not follow, the food changed. Today, we prove exactly how, exactly when, and exactly who decided it was worth it. The memory is real. Before we get into the how, let's establish the what. The first thing the fast food industry will tell you when confronted with this question: nostalgia is unreliable. Your memory is distorted. It was never as good as you remember. That is a deflection. Food industry researchers and former fast food suppliers have documented a steady, decades-long pressure from corporate procurement teams to cut costs on every ingredient. Every year, every contract cycle, a relentless, grinding pressure on quality that was never announced, never put in a press release. Former McDonald's suppliers, speaking to food industry journalists on record, described receiving annual notifications of new specifications. Each one subtly changed the beef content, the fat ratio, and the processing method. Each change was framed internally as an optimization. Externally, nothing changed. Same menu, same logo, same smile. The price went up, the food went down, and it was not just McDonald's. Burger King, Wendy's, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, KFC, Subway. Every major fast food chain in America. Same transformation, different speeds, different mechanisms. Same destination, a product optimized for cost, engineered for consistency, and increasingly disconnected from the thing it was originally designed to be: food. The ingredient collapse. Let's start with what is actually in the food now versus what used to be. Beef. In the early days of McDonald's, beef patties were ground fresh at regional suppliers and delivered to restaurants regularly. Simple. Ground chuck. Minimal processing. Today, far more complex. It starts at massive industrial processing facilities, where beef trim from multiple animals is combined, processed, and pressed into patties at industrial scale. On-screen note: sources. Former McDonald's suppliers documented in food industry trade publications and Eric Schlosser's Fast Food Nation. For years, many patties were processed using a method where ammonia gas was used to kill bacteria in lower-grade beef, allowing cheaper cuts to be used safely. USDA microbiologist Gerald Zernstein nicknamed it pink slime in an internal government email that later went public. McDonald's used this process until public pressure forced a change in 2012. On-screen note: McDonald's confirmed removal, Associated Press, January 2012. But here is what most people do not know. The change was not a return to higher quality beef. It was a different method, designed to hit the same cost targets a different way. The pressure never stopped, only the technique changed. The chicken, original KFC, was hand-breaded by trained staff and cooked in lard, animal fat that produced the rich, distinctive flavor that made it famous. Today, KFC chicken arrives pre-marinated from central suppliers, breading applied by machine. Lard was replaced decades ago with refined vegetable oils, cheaper, more stable, and noticeably blander. Colonel Sanders himself, before his death in 1980, publicly called out what KFC had become. He described the gravy as wallpaper paste. He called the food the worst fried chicken he had ever seen. The man who invented it could not recognize it. The bread. Some fast food buns today contain over 50 ingredients. The original? Flour, water, yeast, salt, sugar. What replaced it? Chemicals that make the bread last longer, survive shipping, and stay soft across thousands of locations, but add absolutely nothing to the flavor. The bread works, it just does not taste like bread anymore. The oil. The single biggest flavor change in fast food history happened in 1990. McDonald's stopped frying in beef tallow, the animal fat that had been the foundation of their fry recipe since day one, and switched to vegetable oil. The health argument for the switch turned out to be wrong. The replacement oil contained trans fats, later found to be significantly more harmful, and the FDA banned it entirely in 2018. But beyond the health question, it tasted completely different. Fries fried in beef tallow had a rich, savory, almost meaty depth. The vegetable oil version was lighter, blander, and required something extra. So McDonald's added natural beef flavor, applied to the fry before freezing at the factory. The fries no longer contained beef. They were engineered to taste like they did. You have been eating an imitation of the original product for over 30 years. The Flavor Laboratory. Here is the piece of this story almost nobody tells you. Visual. Map of New Jersey, industrial parks, corporate logos. There is a stretch of industrial parks in New Jersey known in the food industry as the Flavor Corridor, home to companies like International Flavors and Fragrances and Givaudan, manufacturers of the artificial and natural flavors used in virtually every fast food product in America. The taste of a McDonald's fry, the flavor of KFC chicken, the seasoning of a Taco Bell taco, all partly the product of a flavor laboratory, not a kitchen. When you eat fast food, you are not tasting a recipe, you are tasting a formulation. The factory kitchen. The second transformation, running alongside the ingredient swaps, was perhaps even more fundamental. Fast food restaurants stopped cooking, not overnight, not with an announcement, but gradually, systematically, completely. The actual preparation of food moved out of the restaurant and into factories hundreds or thousands of miles away. The model is called centralized prep. Here's how it works. Food is cooked at an industrial facility, rapidly chilled, vacuum sealed, shipped to the restaurant, where someone who is no longer meaningfully a cook drops the bag in hot water, brings it to temperature, and assembles the product according to a laminated diagram. Now, that is it. The Subway sandwich you receive. The chicken was cooked in a factory. The vegetables are cut and packaged at a processing plant. The bread par-baked at a centralized bakery and finished on site. And that bread? Sound design. Gavel bang. In 2020, Ireland's Supreme Court ruled that Subway bread could not legally be classified as bread because its sugar content was 5 times the legal threshold. Under Irish law, it was confectionery, not bread, legally closer to a cake. On-screen note, Subway Ireland Supreme Court ruling, October 2020. Now Taco Bell. Their beef arrives pre-seasoned, pre-cooked, requiring only reheating before service. A 2011 lawsuit alleged the beef contained so little actual beef it could not legally be called beef. Yet Taco Bell disputed this and publicly disclosed their recipe, which includes a seasoning blend, oats, soy, and various binders alongside the beef. The lawsuit was withdrawn, but the disclosed recipe confirmed the product is significantly more engineered than the word beef implies. And Subway's chicken? A 2021 CBC investigation reported DNA test results suggesting significant non-chicken filler content. Subway disputed the findings. Independent tests produced varying results. The formulation remains contested. On-screen note, CBC Marketplace Investigation 2021. Subway disputed findings, independent results varied. But the question matters regardless of the specific number. When food is cooked in a factory, shipped in a vacuum-sealed bag, and assembled by someone following a diagram, at what point does it stop being food and become something else entirely? The corporate cost machine. None of this happened by accident. Every ingredient substitution, every factory prep decision, every swap from beef tallow to vegetable oil, from fresh beef to processed patty, from hand-breaded chicken to pre-marinated portion, each one was a deliberate decision, made in a room full of people looking at a spreadsheet. And the number on that spreadsheet was not flavor, it was cost per unit. These aren't chefs, not food scientists, just procurement managers and analysts, rewarded for cutting costs, not improving taste. On a $10 fast food transaction, the profit is roughly 50 to 90 cents. That's it. So a 2-cent reduction on a beef patty across 5 million patties per day? saves $36.5 million a year. A 1-cent reduction on a bun across an entire national chain, tens of millions annually. This is the only math that matters in these boardrooms. Linda, a former McDonald's franchise owner in Ohio, described receiving quarterly memos from corporate detailing required changes to supplier specifications. Every year it was something, a different patty supplier, a different oil blend, a different bread formula, always framed as an improvement, always about cost. On-screen note, franchise owner testimony, name changed for privacy. McDonald's generates over $25 billion in annual revenue. They have a dedicated global supply chain organization whose primary mandate is one thing: reduce the per-unit cost of every ingredient across the entire system. Burger King's parent company, Restaurant Brands International, which also owns Tim Hortons and Popeyes, uses the phrase cost rationalization regularly in investor earnings calls. Corporate language for making the food cheaper without telling you. Your meal is their production line. The output they optimize for is not the taste of your burger. It is the margin on your burger. Every bad bite in the last 20 years, a financial decision, made by someone who will never eat there. The nostalgia trap. So if the food is worse, why do billions of people still buy it every single day? Because they stopped selling food a long time ago. They sell a feeling. The golden arches are among the most recognized brand symbols on the planet. Built not on food quality, but on decades of psychological conditioning that started in childhood. Ronald McDonald. Happy Meals, playgrounds, toys. All designed to create one association in a child's mind before that child is old enough to evaluate the food itself. McDonald's equals happiness. By the time you are an adult ordering a Big Mac, you are not just ordering a burger. You are ordering every birthday party, every road trip, every after-school reward. That emotional connection is almost impossible to break with a single disappointing meal. Neuroscientists call this conditioned flavor preference, where flavors become linked to emotional states through repeated exposure. The emotional memory persists even after the actual flavor has changed. Your brain remembers happiness, not the patty. And the industry engineered every touch point to reinforce that connection at your weakest moments. The app notification at 11:30 a.m. Peak hunger decision time. Not coincidental. The dollar menu. Not generosity. Loss leader psychology to get you in the door. The loyalty rewards program. Not appreciation. Behavioral conditioning designed to create obligation and keep you returning. Thomas, a high school teacher in Texas, has stopped at McDonald's every Friday after work for 15 years. I don't even enjoy it anymore, but it feels like the end of the week. I know it's not what it used to be, but I keep going anyway. Thomas is not weak. He is human. And the fast food industry has spent 50 years studying exactly how to use that. Chain by chain. Each chain tells a slightly different version of the same story. McDonald's. The 1990 oil switch was the first major blow. The 2012 pink slime removal maintained similar cost targets through different methods. The 2016 fresh beef upgrade for quarter pounders was real, but applied to one product only. Everything else continued declining. Burger King built its identity on flame grilling, a genuine differentiator. The grills are still there. The beef passing through them reformulated multiple times. Multiple ownership changes since the late 1980s brought waves of cost-cutting that degraded supporting ingredients, while the flame grill story remained in every advertisement. Wendy's. Fresh, never-frozen beef was founder Dave Thomas's core promise, held until his death in 2002. The commitment held for core burgers but quietly shifted elsewhere. The chili, made from beef too old to serve as patties, became the symbol of the gap between promise and reality. KFC, hand breading, lard, trained kitchen staff, all gone. Pre-marinated chicken from central suppliers, the 11 herbs and spices applied industrially. The pressure fryers remain. The process running through them is fundamentally different from what Colonel Sanders built. Taco Bell. Perhaps the most transparent about what it is. A delivery system for cheap engineered, filling food built around flavor intensity. The formulations were always closer to food science than cooking. What changed is the price, which rose dramatically without the ingredients following. The blame shift. When confronted with declining quality, the industry has one answer ready: inflation. Costs went up. We had no choice. Partially true, mostly incomplete. The quality reductions began in the 1990s. They accelerated through the 2000s. They were driven by quarterly earnings pressure, not temporary cost spikes. The inflation of 2021 and 2022 gave the industry a fresh excuse to apply to a decades-old pattern. Menu innovation, when the core product declines. Distract with novelty. The Travis Scott meal. The McRib returns. The Popeyes chicken sandwich. The Doritos Locos taco. Enormous media attention. Zero improvement to the everyday menu. Engineered excitement, designed to keep you talking about the brand while the actual product continued its quiet decline. And the most effective deflection of all, blaming you. Your tastes changed. Your expectations are unrealistic. You want cheap food and quality, you can't have both. Just enough truth to sound reasonable. Here is the actual truth. They did not lower quality because costs forced them to. They lowered quality because the financial models rewarded it. And they discovered that consumers, conditioned by nostalgia and habit, kept buying anyway. They found the floor of your tolerance and kept pushing it lower. The taste you remember was real. The beef was different, the oil was different, the bread was different, the chicken was different. The flavor itself, engineered in a laboratory in New Jersey, was different. What replaced it was not inflation, not inevitability, not the cost of scale. It was a choice, made in a boardroom you were never invited into, by people who decided your memory was worth less than their margin. The food was better. You were right to remember it that way, and now you know why.